Can you hear my voice?
Good day. I'm Abdulaziz from the Ministry of the Innovative Development of the Republic of Uzbekistan.
Wait,
Listening?
I cannot hear your sound clearly. Let me. Okay.
Are listening to me?
Oops.
Mrs. Nagihan Unsal, yeah?
Yeah, it's me. Abdulaziz Suyarov, I guess. Yeah. Hi. Nice to meet you.
I'm from the ministry.
Oh, nice to meet you. And
Nice to meet you too. And thank you very much for your effort to organize this kind of meeting and for your following training.
Okay, thank you very much. We really
Can we wait for some couple of minutes, please? Because in Uzbekistan it's noontime and it's lunchtime. Maybe they will enter.
Okay, then we will wait for a couple of minutes. Then I will check the
if you don't mind.
Participations. Then we will begin the presentation.
Yes, sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Miss Nagihan?
Yes, we have enough participants.
Yes, I think others can join during the session. We can start maybe because that's time.
Okay, then we will start our presentation. How many people do we have? 18 persons here. Okay. Now, let's start then. At first, let's make it small because okay, let me start with introducing myself. I'm working as Vice President at Octagram Technology and Consulting Company, and my field of operations are mainly focused on project management, quality management systems, branding, and that's kind of consulting sectors. And today I will going to present you the basic feasibility report requirements, how the process must be taken under the consideration, what are the requirements, and that kind of stuff. So we will start, if it's not, I can't see them. So we will start with giving answer to the question, what is feasibility study? A feasibility study is a detailed analysis that considers all of the critical aspects of a proposed project in order to determine the possibility of completing the project successfully. What I mean by that is you have a proposed project, which I will get into detail later. You will analyze it. Then you will write a report, then conduct your study. Next one. Of course, making a feasibility study is not something that you came up right to the point of writing the report, but it's a completion of a process. At first, as I have mentioned before, you write a project proposal, then you make a pre-feasibility study, then you analyze what you decide on the parts that you have studied in the pre-feasibility report. Then you get into the point of writing the final feasibility report. And then if you need, you present your findings to the group or to the project leader, etc. Then the project proposal. A project proposal is a document that defines your project in general, and it has to be includes things such as executive summary, project background, solutions and approach, financial information, additional documents, whatever you need, and your conclusion. Now I will go into detail about these titles. In the first part, your executive summary is a brief summary of the project that includes details about the problem that planned to solve by this project, how the project solves the problems, and the intended impact of the project. As you can see, the main focuses of this part is giving details about your problem. Defining your problem is very important. And after defining your problem, you will define the solutions you find to solve this problem, how you will solve. Then the intended impact of the project must also be included in this part, because you will have, even it's a cultural study, technical, technological, political, it doesn't matter. In each and every project, we have an intended impact, and to control our project, we also have to decide on and write down the intended impact of the project in this executive summary part. Then in the second section is project background, which is a section that focuses on how and why you came to think of that project. This section includes details about the history and what is already known about this problem. So you make, again, general research about the previous happenings about this problem. Then you also include past research on this problem. And also, you should not forget to add the details about by whom and when it was done. Then the reason why the past research was insufficient at addressing this problem. So only making the research is not enough, because you don't need to start everything from the beginning, very beginning. You can use the researches that was held before you held in conducting this project. But you should also define that why is this research was not sufficient enough to address this problem. You should also include a brief summary of your project's requirements in this section. You will depend your study on this proposal. So it will be better to write a little bit detailed project background at this point. Then we go through the solutions and approaches. There are some in the chat. Let me check it. Okay. Understand. Okay. If you have any questions, you can also ask during the presentation. I will do my best to check it and give answers to it. Solutions and approaches. It's our third section. In this part, the document explains the goals and the vision for the project, what your project will deliver, your expected. Sorry, I guess someone has. Okay, just let me move to all. Sorry for the inconvenience. Nope. Here we are. In the solutions and approach section, you define and explain your goals and vision for your project, what your project will deliver, your expected timeline, which is very important, and I will give more detail about this part, including important milestones. Because if you cannot finish a project in the expected timeline, your project might be considered as unsuccessful. Think about the projects that are inclined with tourism sector. You work in accordance with the seasons, or think about the constructional projects, or if there is any regulation that is changed. So for that reasons, the timeline sometimes decides on the success of the project outcomes. Then you should also include any risks that the project anticipates and how to report if there is a problem. In each and every project, there are some risks that they can be economical, cultural, economical and financial are much or less same, or anything that you may think about a project's outline. You have to list them here, and you have to offer your solutions to eliminate that risks, find alternatives, and if there is something happens regarding these risks, you also have to define the system that you have created to report the problem. And then finally, you should also list the criteria of your success. So you will define, if I do this, this project will be successful. And financial information, which is quite important to, when you are holding a project, it mostly depends on the budget of the project. How much money do you have? How much you can spare for this project? And if you are conducting other projects under your company, you should divide your budget in a reasonable way. It tells you what you have how much money do you have, and how much the project will cost, and the predicted financial impact of the completed project. So it's kind of making assumptions about the what's happening here. Okay. Then we keep going to the last part of the project proposal, which is additional documents and conclusion. In this part, you can list contact details, because a project is mostly something that you have an organization, lots of people, so you need a contact detail, and the area where the project will be based. If again, if it's a construction project, or something to do with the weather conditions, the geography, topography, and the other issues, then the area of the project should also be included in additional documents. I mean, the special features of the area should also be included in the documents, and any additional relevant studies or reports. Actually, we also add this informations in the summary and project background, but at that point you make a brief summary, or you give informations or details about what you have found about the past research. And at this point you can add these documents as an apart document, as an apart paper. Then a glossary of terms used in the project proposal. In some projects, the words that are used need to be defined, specified to make your audience to understand what you're talking about. What do we do with this proposal? After we read and analyze the proposal, we ask the question, is this feasible or viable? Can we do this project? And while giving the answer to this question, you analyze the technical issues of the project, economical, legal, operational, and the time factors of the project must be undertaken. Writing the project proposal is not enough, because you can list everything, you can give all the details, but if you cannot make an objective analysis about the project, you may waste your time and your money and all the resources you have. It's like, for example, you want to grow potatoes, but on the surface of Mars. You can write a perfect project about it, but when you came to analyze this, you will understand that it's impossible. It's kind of like that. Then, let me give a little break. However, we are not going right away to the writing the feasibility report. Before that, we prepare a pre-feasibility study. A pre-feasibility study will examine and sort out the issues or scenarios that are relevant to your intended purpose. After deciding on what you need to analyze, you can group together the ideas related to the issues you want to study and set aside the other issues. What I mean by that, to avoid the possibility of wasting your resources, time, and money, you can avoid some of the parts. You may eliminate the political study, cultural study, ethical study. It really depends on the requirements of your project. Then, at this point, you prepare income statements, create a list that includes items, resources, cost, and financing regarding your project. Then, you also conduct a market survey, analyze the demand-supply gap, the resources needed, and the other general requirements such as qualified person, and the staff, and technological equipment, etc. At this point, you have to be sure that what you are producing, what you are creating, or what is your intended outcome must be demanded. After deciding, finishing this part, the pre-feasibility study, because as I said before, you don't have to do everything. You start with your feasibility study. Actually, there are lots of different types of feasibility studies, which are mainly depends on the specifications of the proposed project. In this part, as you can see, there are cultural feasibility studies, legal, ethical feasibility studies, scheduling, which is also referred as timeline or a time vision, and operational feasibility studies, which is mostly about your stuff, your economical and financial situation, and the feasibility study about this topic, technical feasibility study, and political one. So we will start with the cultural feasibility study. In this part, the compatibility of the proposed project with the cultural environment of the project is included in the cultural feasibility. If you need to include the cultural feasibility to your report, you should give answer to the questions such as, is this project has something to do with the culture? Could the cultural structure have an impact on the progress of the project? Or what will be the impact of the project on the cultural structure? And also, this is very important, planned operations should be integrated with the local cultural beliefs and practices in labor-intensive projects. What a person is willing to perform or not to perform is very related to their religious beliefs or their cultural habits. So without doing a cultural feasibility report study, if you are conducting a labor-intensive project, there is a possibility to fail at the very end of the project because your job is with people. Then we are going to the second part, which is legal ethical feasibility study. Your project must meet legal requirements that include laws and regulations that apply to all activities in your project. Legal feasibility analysis help you to understand if your proposed plan conforms to legal and ethical requirements. These requirements may include zoning laws, data protection acts, or privacy laws. What I mean here, what I might mean by that is, for example, if you have a project that collects the data, the data processing system should be comply with the Local Data Protection Act. Or if you have a construction project, you have to check the issues like planning permission, land ownership, or the other issues like taxation, etc. It's very important that the project or business is following the requirements needed to start a business or a project, including, as you can see, the topics that I have listed here, like tax number, copyrights, certificates, and business insurance. So, then we have another type of feasibility, which is scheduling feasibility. In scheduling feasibility, the project team estimates how much time the project will take to complete. It's beneficial to analyze the topics you have seen here, the design, materials, budget, environmental impacts, regulations, and risk areas. It's also important to assess the ability of the team to succeed in completing the project on time and on budget. Okay, to make this part more clear, schedule feasibility is defined as the probability of a project to be completed within its scheduled time limits by a planned due date. If you remember at the very beginning of the presentation, also I have said that if you cannot finish a project in the scheduled time, in the planned due date, there is a possibility of considering your project unsuccessful. So you should estimate the potential time frame that will take to execute the project and set deadlines at this point. This type of feasibility study can help you to determine how reasonable the project's timeline is when measured against existing projects and available resources. So, proper evaluation at this step can also help you avoid unpredictable or extra costs. Because, if the time is the most important part in your project, and while doing a feasibility study, if you realize that you cannot finish this project on time, you don't have to waste your resources, or you will be more prepared about the outcomes or the potential loss you will have regarding this time issues. And you should also find out some extension solutions, like if a project cannot be completed in the estimated time, you should ask the question, are there any possibilities to extend the time? For example, you can hire new staff, or you can change your technical equipments if it will help you to gain more time. So this kind of solutions you must also include this in this feasibility study. And if possible, if you can extend the time, then what will be the extra cost, and also are we in the budget or not? Again, if you are capable of extending the time, what will be the cost of this extension? You should also consider the staff you need to hire, the cost of the staff, and the cost of the equipments. Or it can also be the other way. For example, you are conducting a project for 6 months, and you hired some technical staff, and you guaranteed to them that you will pay a loan for 6 months. Then however, but your project finished at the 4th or 5th month, but you have an agreement. So again, you have to pay extra because you finished earlier. And about the being to be considered as unsuccessful when it takes longer, you can think of the external environmental conditions, like weather conditions, like change of season, like the deadlines of some regulations, that kind of stuff. And because of these obligations, a project can lose its benefits and profitability. If a work to be accomplished at a project does not fit the timeframes demanded by its customers, then a schedule is also an unfeasible schedule. Because you also should consider the needs and demands of your customers. And if you are not on time, it's like selling Christmas trees on the summer. You can just keep. Then we have operational, economical, financial, market, and technical feasibility parts. But before that, let me take a break for a couple of minutes. I'll be back right away. Okay, there is a... Okay, there is someone asked the question, what this conference is about, guys. This conference is about preparing a feasibility report. You're welcome. Okay, now I will take a break for 15 minutes and I'll be back at 12 o'clock. Actually, it's training poster. Yes. Okay, then see you in 15 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Miss Nagikhan. Okay, we'll see in 15 minutes.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your first section of your course. Dear participants, we will wait for you after the 15 minutes, after the break. Hurmatli ishtirokchilar, iltimos 15 daqiqadan keyin qaytib kelishingiz mumkin. Yangi qo'shilganlarga eslatib o'taman. Bu Innovatsion rivojlanish vazirligi va Texnopolis Istanbul bilan birgalikda 5 kunlik intensiv kurslarimiz amalga oshirilyapti. Intensiv kurslar maqsadi startup loyihalarni 10 ta modulda tezkor shakllantirish va rivojlantirishdan iborat. Unda g'oya egalari, prototiplari borlar, startup kompaniya egalari va boshqalar ishtirok etishi mumkin. Kecha birinchi modulimiz yakunlandi. Canva biznes modelida startup loyihalarini shakllantirish. Bugun ikkinchi modulimiz, ya'ni startup loyihalarini shakllantirishda tadqiqotlar, umuman loyihalarni shakllantirish, analiz qilish, tahlillarni olib borish, baholash va hokazo. Mana shularni hammasi aynan bizda yangicha kurslar. Shuning uchun qatnashishingiz mumkin va biz sizlarni kutamiz 15 daqiqadan keyin. Iltimos qilamiz, ketib qolmaslaringizni. Qanaqangi savollaringiz bo'lsa, marhamat, bemalol berishlaringiz mumkin.
Assalomu alaykum. Manaqa sizni prezentatsiya masalasida savol bermoqchi edim. Bu yerda faqat ingliz tilida prezentatsiya bo'ladimi yoki boshqa tillarda ham o'tsa bo'ladimi? Shunisi ozgina muammo bo'lyapti.
Faqat ingliz tilida, chunki bizani trening Technopolis Istanbul tomonidan tashkillashtirilgan, ular o'zbek, ingliz yoki turk tilida qilib beramiz deyishgan. Shuning uchun biz ingliz tilida ko'proq odam tushunadi. Shuning uchun ingliz tilini biz tanlaganmiz. Ingliz tilida bo'ladi. Unchalik qiyin emas.
Katta rahmat.
Rahmat.
Okay, I guess I can. Well, there's 4 minutes. But for the latecomers, if you want, I can make a brief summary about what I have talked about up to that point. Let me check my.
Yeah, Ms. Nagahan, if you could do some summarize, some brief information, it will be perfect.
I will give the main points again, but I cannot find. Okay, guys, latecomers, listen carefully. Today we are talking about the basic feasibility report. The title of the presentation is Basic Feasibility Report. And to make a feasibility report, you have to conduct a process. You have a process because you don't just step up to the point of writing a feasibility report. Before that, you prepare a project proposal, and this proposal gives the general idea, the general points, main points of your project, the details about your project. And in this document, you include the topics such as executive summary, which you include the general information about your project, the problem that you define and that you are aiming to solve, and how you are going to solve this problem, and the impact of the project, what you are, the aim of the project. You will write down in this section. Then at the second section, you will note down the background of your project. This is about how did you come to the idea of writing this project, the history and what is known about this problem is important, the past research about this problem, and why the other research was not sufficient enough to address this problem. In this part, you don't need to start everything from the very beginning, because you can make use of the other research and then add your findings to those research by finding new solutions, finding new alternatives to the previous research. Then you also make a brief summary, a list of the requirements of your project. Then you also need the details that are specific to your project. In the third part of the proposal document, you also add the solutions and approach. In this section, you define your goals and the vision of the project, then what your project will deliver, your expected timeline, including important milestones, then any risks that your project might be anticipated. And also you should make a list of the possibilities or the alternatives to eliminate those risks. And if there is any risk happens, how you will report them. You should also define the system that you have created to a reporting system in general. You should also make note of this subject in this point. And also you should note down the criteria of success of your project. I mean, the achievements of regarding a project as successful. Then you should also include the financial information of the project. In this part, you note down the budget of the project. I mean, it's apart from your general budget, but what you can spare for this project, or if you have a general budget, how you will divide your budget in accordance with the projects you conduct in general, because you may have more than one project. Then you will also write down the cost of the project, because budget and cost are different. Then you will also write the predicted financial impact of the completed project. You will add details like what is the benefit of this project to the company, to the environment, to the government, to the people, to your customers, that kind of stuff. Then you also include your additional documents and also make a conclusion. In this additional documents, you may include your contact details, the research that you included in the project background part, because you only make a brief summary of what you have found about the previous research. And in this part, you add the research that you have found until you conduct that project. And a glossary of terms used in the project proposal also might be included, because in some projects you have to use some terms that are not easy to understand for other people. So for that reason, it will be better if you add a part, a glossary, the definition of the terms you have used in the project. Then after your project proposal is done, you analyze this proposal by asking some good questions. Actually, making a feasibility study is generally about asking questions and giving answer to them. You should define the problem, the specifications of the project. And to answer the question of, is this project feasible? You analyze the technical issues, economical issues, legal issues, operational issues, and the time factors. Because all of these are very important for all the projects to be considered as successful. There are also other elements like political, ethical, or cultural elements. But the main points must be focused on the technical, economical, operational, and the time factors. These are very essential in each and every project. Then, after you finish the proposal, you make a pre-feasibility study. Because if you directly start writing your or conducting your feasibility study, you may done more than you need. And to avoid wasting time and your resources, at first you have to decide on what you need to conduct this study. Then you eliminate the other factors and start analyzing what you have written in the proposal. And also, I mentioned the types of feasibility studies. There are cultural, legal, ethical, scheduling, which is related to the timeline, operational, which is related to how you organize this project, how you will. It's the organizational part of the project. It's about your stuff. It's about the how you will, for example, get the necessary equipments, this kind of things. And or if you are building a system, how you will operate it, how it will be functional. Then there's also economic and financial feasibility studies. Then technical feasibility studies that you question the capacity, the capacity of your company about that technological requirements, which I will talk about later, and political feasibility study. Then I start talking about the studies, the feasibility studies in more detailed way. I start with the cultural feasibility study, which is mainly about the the cultural aspect of the project. I mean, you should ask the question to include this. Wait a minute. Here we are. I'm sorry. The cultural feasibility, I said, the compatibility of the proposed project with the cultural environment of the project is included in the cultural feasibility. It's harmony of the project and the cultural environment, to put in simple way. And you ask questions to determine if you should include this part, such as, is this project has something to do with culture? Or could the cultural structure have an impact on the progress of the project, or vice versa? What will be the impact of the project on the cultural structure? Think about the social media apps. They really they are really effective on cultural structures. Or think about the religious beliefs. If you are conducting a project, if you have a project in labor-intensive way, you have to also take under the consideration this topic, the cultural feasibility, because you know what you can make people to, how can I say, people's choice differs according to their religious beliefs, the cultural structures, that kind of stuff. And if your project is related to the directly to the people, you should also take under the, what was it? I'm sorry, I forget the word. Take under consideration. Okay. Then I talk about the legal and ethical feasibility study, which is highly related to the laws and regulations about the government, the place, the area you are doing your project. And at that point, I gave some examples. For example, if you are collecting data, the data processing system that you are creating should be comply with the Local Data Protection Act. Or if you are doing a construction project, you should also make a research about the planning permissions about this area, or the land ownership taxes, or if there's any zoning laws. For example, in seaside, there are some regulations. For example, you cannot build high buildings. And if you are doing a project that is planned to have a building on a seashore, you have to check these regulations, this kind of stuff. Because after you finish your project, you came across such an obligation that you can do nothing. So to be successful, you should take under consideration all of these requirements. And now we will keep going from the operational feasibility part where we left. Do you have any questions, by the way, up to that point? I guess not. As if is usually yeah, of course, because you know, creating or planning a project is not always so individual. And of course, you can submit to potential investors. I will talk about it in the part where, in a minute, in which part will I talk about? Operational or financial, yes, finding funds. In that part, for example, you have to find potential investors because your budget might be not enough to hold the project. So you can find some new resources to support your project. Actually, I have just realized that I missed a part, the scheduling feasibility, but I guess it's much or less can be understood. It's the time visibility of the project. By the way, is it clear? My answer is clear? Because this feasibility report is not only for your company. You can present them in some foundations, in some, for example, in some programs that are funding people, they want a feasibility report to see the details, the possibility of making the project. They want that report. So it's better to have this type of documents in your on your hand to be ready in these situations. Okay. I will also talk a little about the scheduling feasibility because this part is very important. Again, in the scheduling feasibility, you define the probability of the project to be completed within its scheduled time limits. And in some cases, your project might be considered as unsuccessful because of the time limits or the planned due dates. For example, if you are making a project about tourism sector, it's quite related to seasons, the weather conditions. Or if you are doing a project that is that has to be finished before change over to any regulation, you should keep up the timeline that you have decided to. So it was the end, I guess. Yeah, I guess that's quite enough summary. No, let's move on. I will. Okay, in operational feasibility. An operational feasibility study evaluates whether or not your organization is able to complete this project. This study includes staffing requirements, organizational structure, and any applicable legal requirements. At the end of the operational feasibility study, your team or your project staff will have the sense of whether or not you have the resources and skills and all the other required elements to complete this work. And while doing this feasibility study, as I said earlier, asking questions in the studies are really important. Asking good questions, the right ones, are really important. You may give answer to the questions such as, does current mode of operation make maximum use of available resources, including people and time? If the system is developed, will it be, I'm sorry, I'm reading it wrong. If the system is developed, will it be used? Will the proposed system really benefit the organization at the current work practices and the procedures adequate? Okay. The important part of here is that you should analyze your current situation of your company, and then you make assumptions on the organization of carrying on this project, and defining or listing what you will need, what you have to change. Do you need more people? Do you need more resource? Do you need more technical equipment? Whatever you can think of about the organization of the project, you include in this study. Then, oops, it is not. Another important part, which is economical feasibility. It's actually an answer to the question, will your project be profitable? It's all. With an economic feasibility study, you run a cost-benefit analysis to determine how much value the project will bring to the business. In addition to the profits, economic feasibility also relates to how the money will be spent. So not only the profit, but also the way you will spend money must be included in your study. And also this section also overlaps with the other types of feasibility studies. For example, if you need new technical equipments, you need to purchase them, and of course you should make an economical feasibility study about this need, and this is also included in technical feasibility section. Or if you need more staff, or if you have to educate or train new staff, there are, of course, some cost to that training. And you should also include this in economic feasibility report, but also in the organizational feasibility study. So when we running this study, we need to ask, what are the required costs? How much is the budget? Do benefits outweigh the costs? If project fails, could it put the business at risk? This is very important. If you finish your budget, if the project fails, is it the end of your business? So, and then we keep going with the other question. What is the expected benefit regarding revenue? Is it a good investment overall? This is the core of all of the questions. And economic feasibility is critical even when the project is non-profit in nature. For example, you want to change the office and you conduct a feasibility study about this. This project will only, it seems at the beginning, that you will only spend money on the project. However, if your staff is more happy with the environment they are working, the projects, the general profit of the company will rise. So the non-profit nature project will also make a profit for you, but in an intangible way. And now, I also want to mention about return on investment, but I will not go into details because it's one of the main topics of the financial training program I will be doing tomorrow. So I will make a simple explanation about this. Return on investment is calculating if you gain more than you spend. It's very simple. It's a popular profitability metric to evaluate how well an investment has performed. As you can see the formula here, you just decide on the current value of the investment, cost of the investment, and you divide this into cost of the investment, multiply it with 100, and here is your profit. And here you can see it's actually in Turkish. I didn't translate it, but now I will mention what it's all about. Here you can see a return on investment example of one of the projects that I take part of. Here we analyze the market value and the rate of the estimated market growth. As you can see, here is the market, the product, the population, the estimated market growth, and also here we make a list of the rates of return of investment in certain period of times. It's 3 years later, 5, 8, 3, that kind of stuff. And you can see the dates, years. It's actually quite a math problem. but this is very crucial. But I will not, as I said, as I have just said, I will not go into detail because I will talk about it tomorrow. Now, financial feasibility. It's a quite it looks like economic feasibility, but it's something different. It also gives a little answer to the question that I have just answered before. In the financial feasibility, the ability of the project management to raise sufficient funds required to carry on the proposed project is included in, as I said, financial feasibility. Here, you make a research about the additional investors, the potential additional investors, and also creditworthiness of the project. Because if you need more money, you may take some loan and make some research about the availability of these loans. And for this, also for this reason, you have to prepare a financial feasibility report, because you cannot go any investor and say that I have a project like this, can you lend me some money? You have to show them that this project is viable, it can be done, and you don't have enough budget, but the profit will really worth the time and resources that will be spent. And also for the other sources of funds, you have to have a financial feasibility report. Do we have another? Oops. Do we have anything? No. Done. Then we keep going with the market feasibility part. Market feasibility must also not be mixed up with the economic feasibility. It's something different. In this part, the potential influence of market demands, competitive activities, and a viable market share should be considered in the market feasibility analysis, we'll say. This is actually making a general market research, which is also a topic of this training. I mean, the training that will be held later. And my colleague will give you enough information about how to make a market analysis, how to write a report, the needs, the demands of your customers, that kind of. Then, technical feasibility. Actually, I have listed the most important ones to the end of the presentation, towards the end of the presentation. Actually, feasibility reports mainly focus on the technical, economical, operational, and the time, the schedule studies. And the final, I have one more feasibility study type, but this one is really important. In technical feasibility, you determine if your organization has the technical resources and expertise to meet the project requirements. And in certain, I'm sorry. Okay, to decide if the proposed project is technically possible, you conduct a technical feasibility study. And to analyze this topic, you give answer to the questions such as, do we have the required technology? Is the project feasible within the limits of current technology? Can the technology be easily applied to the current problems? It's like, you know, there is a technology invented, but can you use it in your project? And the question which I like most, does the technology exist at all? It's like the example I gave earlier about growing potatoes on the surface of Mars. And if not, can you create this technology? So in this part, you should also take under consideration the geography, the area that your project will be done. For example, if your projects are to be done in third world countries, there you have to make some technology transfer. And to make it happen, you have to analyze cultures, geography, and the other implications, the resources that are available to use to make use of. And of course, you can add more questions. For example, let's not skip that part so easily. In technical feasibility, you should also pay attention to the, for example, hardware, software development. Again, in the what we have said in operational feasibility study, the stuff you need. Do you need to educate some people? Because only knowing how to create a software or being a software developer is not always enough. For example, I'm conducting a project that is about the regulations of medical devices, the MDR regulation. And for that reason, I also have to teach the engineers the general concepts of the regulation, because without explaining the intent, what it is about, I cannot give the enough, or I cannot make them produce the software I need. Okay, the last part, which is political feasibility study. Actually, I will not go into detail in this one. I just wanted to remind you that you may also need a political feasibility study in your report. Sorry. Here I say potential feasibility that may have important political implications and government inputs. And regardless of the merit of the project, the political necessity may be a source of assistance for a project. This is an exceptional one. You may include or exclude if it's needed. As I said earlier before, it's all about specifications of your project. You don't need to do everything. This is why we are doing a pre-feasibility study before conducting a feasibility study. And now we are coming to the point of telling the benefits of conducting a feasibility study. Actually, according to my point of view, the most important part is saving time, money, and resources, because you know that the project is viable, that you can do the project, and you spend money, resource, and time to something that has a high potential. But if you are not holding a objective, detailed analysis, and at some point you may lose all of your budgets. You may have more need of new stuff or new technological equipment or new technology, and without knowing that before you start a project, you will just waste all kinds of your resources. Then another benefits I want to mention is identification of new opportunities. It's, while starting from the very beginning, when I was talking about the project proposal, you make research, you make analyze, you read other people's, the past research about the problem that you want to solve. And while you are making this research, or while you are looking for alternatives, or while you are analyzing the geography, the topography, the culture, or laws, regulations, you may come across to the new ideas, new opportunities. You may find out something new that you can make another project of, or you can add to your project. And another benefit of this study also narrowing down the alternatives. Of course, you need to list your alternatives, because you always have to have a B plan. Because, you know, if you come across to any risk, if you come across to any problem, you just cannot give up on a project. So you will find alternatives to this to solving problems of this project, but at the same time, by doing a detailed study, you narrow down the alternatives. Another point is that enhancing the probability of success, because, you know, you make more realistic, the other point is also the same, the realistic assumptions, because you can foresee what is about to come. If there is something, some obligations that you didn't know before, after conducting the study, you may find solutions, or you may think about to find solutions about it. But without knowing this risk, without knowing that obligations, or without analyzing your economical, financial, and all the other things, you may be a little bit optimistic more than you should be. So this study also makes you to have more realistic assumptions. And for the last one, it also points out the reasons to start or to carry on a project. Actually, it's the first benefit, but if you point out the reasons of the project, for example, you are presenting your project to someone. You are looking for new funds. You are looking for some investors. This point will also be the study will also be beneficial in that part, because you have defined all of the reasons that you hold on to carry this project. And now we are going to have some examples, but are you still seeing my screen? I guess yes. Do you have any questions? Now I will show some feasibility studies in different files, and there's no answer. Guys, are you listening?
Yeah, of course. Can I ask question in the chat?
Yes.
If so, after the question asked, I would like to know in writing. Sorry, my English is very bad.
I'm so sorry, but I cannot hear clearly. If you want, you can type down your question, and I can read it later. Or
Of course.
just wait a minute. Here's my email address. If you have any question, if you, I don't know what, if you have to, can you? Economic and financial feasibility. Okay. The financial feasibility is more about the potential investors, potential, how can I say, finding new funds, or in the economic feasibility, you make a cost and benefit analysis. You make an analysis of your budget, how much money you will spend on this project, and the return on investments study. Yeah, it's all about the money you have, how you will spend this money, and what is required to complete this project in economical terms. But in the financial feasibility, you look up to the alternatives of finding new funds, new investors, new loans, for example, or credits. If your economic feasibility tells you that your budget and the money that you will spend will not be equal, you have to find more money to complete this project. At this point, you make a financial feasibility study. Am I clear? Actually, one of them are how much money you have and how to spend it, where to spend it, and the other one, if you don't have enough money, how you will find it. You're welcome. Also, I will add my email to the end of the presentation later, because this presentation will be shared with you. And there you can also find my contact address and send me other questions if you have any. Now, here we are. This feasibility study is held by UNESCO. And the topic of the study is using submarine cables for climate monitoring and disaster warning engineering feasibility study, it says. Now you will see that doing a project proposal is actually quite relevant to the making this report, because in some educational trainings, I have seen that making a project proposal, people do not include this part into the general feasibility study, but what you have written in the project proposal is also about this report. Because you know what, in here, executive summary, as I have said before, you make an introduction to your project. Then, as you can see, existing technology, cables, repeaters, branching units, that kind of stuff, existing technology, you examine this. Then, green repeaters, what they have found, what is the outcome of the project is explained here, and the shared infrastructure assumptions, which are again about the, for example, electrical power limitations, repeater bulkhead modifications, etc., etc. Then supplier responses, possible green repeater design solutions. As you can see here, we have the alternatives. As I said earlier, while doing a project, you also have to list down the decide or define, or whatever you want to say about it. You should have alternatives. And again, science instrument design constraints, the other ones, alternatives, etc. Then we have here the cost estimate, which is the economical feasibility study, which is the outcome of a economical feasibility study. Here we have fixed cost, unit cost, operating costs, and then we have the total cost of this system, of this invention. Then we have the summary of study results. What we have found, the result of the tests, the result of the surveys, anything you might think of about the additional documents, you may list all of them here. As you can see, it's a specific topic. It's about submarine. You may have something different, more a cultural study, for example. It's not loading. Oh, okay. Now you can see, I guess. Here is another feasibility study, which is on national lifelong learning platforms, which is about. Here, again, we will check the table of contents. I will not analyze all of the parts that are mentioned under those titles. Here we have, again, background of the study. So the general analysis of the education in the Europe, methodology of the study, this is also very important. While you are writing your feasibility study, you should also, if you have any, you should also note down, write about the methodology you are using. Because, you know, those methods you used makes your project, to put it simple, scientific, reliable, reasonable. You know? So if you have a study regarding on methodology, use them, write them. Then we have outlooks and recommendations. As you can see, this outline and the other one, the submarine cable system, are really different. So what I was saying about the specifications of your project is very obvious in here. So you have to decide on what you need to do, what you need to analyze, what you need to study. Then we have conclusions, table of figures. Actually, here they have written bibliography, but there's something, if I'm not mistaken, glossary. They add, yes, as you can see, glossary, because, you know, it's a submarine. There are lots of specific terms about this project, and if somebody wants to read this project, they have to find a resource, somewhere to understand the terms that they never came across before. Then we have a very, very old documentation of feasibility report, feasibility of a Southern African documentation and information system, which dates back to 1981 to 83. As you can, it's not something new. Those type of studies were being done for ages. And the purpose is written up there. Here we have the table of contents. As you can see, introduction, composition of team and meeting, information needs, requirements for development, etc., etc. Then we go to the part concluding notes. It's kind of summary. As you can see, they also started with the historical background. As you can see, there are some parts that you should include in your study, and there are some parts that you can eliminate, avoid doing it. And also, I want to give you some reference to make. I'm sorry. Why are you not opening it? Via clicking that link, you can find 48 feasibility study examples and templates here. I have taken one of the reports that I have just mentioned here, if I'm not mistaken, or not. Yes, this one, if you remember, lifelong learning platforms. I have downloaded it here, and they are really the published documents. So you can be sure about their reliability. And the other one is documents of UNESCO. Yes, here. It's not loading. Okay, it's loading. Now, it's the website of UNESCO. And what I have done here is just simply writing here feasibility, then make a research. And then I have found lots of examples of feasibility reports. Also, you can, okay. By the way, it's the end of the presentation. If you have any questions, you may ask. So you can find new templates to use. There are lots of templates that are free online on the internet, but using the templates may also cause you to make mistakes or avoid some details you should include. For example, if you have some concerns, some obligations about political issues, about the relation with your project, and if you downloaded or used a template that is only about the operational, economical, and the schedule issues of the project, then you may miss a very important detail. So that's all I want to talk about today. There is for sharing. Okay, I'm just.
Ms. Nagihan, it was very productive training. Thank you very much. And yesterday's training was also very efficient and very useful, very beneficial for us, because in Uzbekistan, the startup ecosystem is actually very new. I think you know about this. In Turkey, there is its experience in the markets, actually in the European markets. So that's why it's very beneficial for us.
I'm glad to hear that, really. I really appreciate it.
Ms. Nagihan, I have only one plea, if you don't mind. Can you share us your materials, the interesting presentation materials for us?
Yes, yes, of course.
For me, I sent you my email address, and I will share participants, if you don't mind, of course.
Yeah, of course, you may share them with all the participants. I would be glad if I could be helpful to all of the people who are listening to me. Okay, so I will send the materials I used today.
Thank you, Mrs. Nagihan.
And tomorrow I will also present another training, so we will meet again.
Yeah, sure. But I think today there is another section also. Another.
Yes, she will be out by my colleague.
Yeah, after some hour.
Yes.
And the participants, if you have any question, please you can give, because
of any comments. Or I also write my email down in the chat. You can also send me an email about your.
It will be perfect, Ms. Nagihan, if you share us your email address.
I have write it down. I will send it again. Maybe some people missed it. And also I will add my email address to the presentation, to the end of the presentation, so they can. I cannot paste. I'm sorry. So that they can find my contact address at the end of the presentation. Yes, here I have sent again. Then it's the end of this training.
Thank you very much. Very
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. Have a nice day and see you later.
Good luck. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening again.
Hurmatli
Right.
ishtirokchilar, kursimiz davom etadi. Iltimos, faol bo'lib turasizlar. Keyingi kurslarimizda ham. Bugun yana bitta kursimiz bor. Today there is another training also, so that's why be active and we will wait for you. Ko'rishguncha, see you soon.
Thank you.